Welcome to Blender Frenzy. I am Justin, and look at this. Look at this. This is crazy. It's like an animal, wild and feral and trying to swallow my head. But next week the barbershop's open. Hopefully I can get in. Probably won't be for another week or two after that I can actually get in, because I know everybody's going to be wanting to go to the barbershops. But yes, I never thought I would miss a haircut so much. But anyway, this is the next video in the quarantine series. In the last video, we painted this lovely colorful artwork onto our toilet paper roll. However, you may have noticed and perhaps been distracted by these sharp lines that you can see going around the outside and the inside of our mesh. If we go into solid shading view, you can actually see that a little bit better. Now, this looks more like the original cylinder that we added in rather than a smooth roll of toilet paper. And in fact, this is not a toilet paper roll that I probably would want to use if I saw it in real life. So before we actually start stenciling an image onto our object, let's smooth it out a bit. So let's select it, come up here to Object, and then choose Shade Smooth. And now everything on our object is smooth. And I mean everything, including the sides and the top and the bottom. So if we go into top view, this looks more like a donut, and there is already a donut tutorial out there. A good tutorial series, by the way, and I highly recommend it. Blender Guru, the master of creating the donut in Blender. But we don't want to create a donut. We want to create a roll of toilet paper. So we want the outside and the inside to be smooth, but we want the top to be flat and not to be rounded and bumpy looking like it is right now. So luckily in Blender, there are a couple of ways to fix this. And the first one is actually really easy. So just select your object and come down to your mesh properties, go to normals and click auto smooth, and ta-da! Magic happens right before your eyes. Now this is exactly what we want. We wanted the outside and inside smooth and the top and the bottom flat. So what is actually happening here? Well, if you look over here at the angle, it's using this angle to decide what is smooth and what is sharp. So right now, any edge that has faces that are 30 degrees or less are smooth, and anything above 30 degrees is going to be sharp. So if we go into our front view, you can see that this is a 90-degree angle, which is much higher than 30 degrees, and that is why it is sharp. But if we crank this up past 90 degrees, boom, now you can see everything is again smooth and bumpy like it was before. So if I come in here and I type 90, you can see nothing happens because it's 90 degrees and below that is smooth. And so if we want our 90-degree edges to be sharp, we actually have to go below 90. So we have to type in at least 89 point something or whatever. It could be 89.99999. It just has to be below the edge you want sharp. So if I crank this down all the way here, you can see if I go below a certain angle, then the sides you can see are back to being sharp. And that's because if we go into edit mode, you can see that the outside and inside edges have angles that are greater than 10.5 degrees. So as I slowly crank that up, you can see where they start to smooth out. That's about 14 degrees there. Now, this works for very simplistic objects like a roll of toilet paper, but let's say you're working with something that's more complex and you need to have a little bit more control on what you have smooth and what you have sharp. So in order to do that, let's mark our own sharp edges. So let's turn off auto smooth here, and then go into edit mode. And you can see we still have our seams marked here in the red from our UV unwrapping. So the first thing I'm going to do is come up to our overlays and uncheck seams. Now, if I enable them again, you can see they're still there. We haven't gotten rid of them. We just don't want to see them while we start marking our sharp edges. So I'm going to go into edge mode. I'm going to press Alt and select my edges. I'm also just shift selecting all of the edges that I want sharp. Okay, so the only edges that I want sharp are these two top and these two bottom here. So I'm going to right click now, and then instead of mark seam, I'm going to say mark sharp. And now you can see all of our sharp edges are in a blue highlight instead of a red highlight. So with those marked, let's go into object mode, select our modifiers tab, go to add modifier, and then edge split. And ta-da! Magic happens again before our eyes. So it's actually doing two things. It's using our edge angle, which is the exact same thing it did here on our auto smooth. So we don't want this. I'm just going to uncheck that. And now it's going to use the sharp edges that we have created. So if I uncheck that, then everything is smooth. And if I check that, it's using our sharp edges. And if you want even more proof, I can come over here into edit mode, select an edge on the side here, right click and mark sharp. And now we have a sharp edge here. And you can see back in object mode, that edge is now sharp for the shading. So I can select as many or as few edges I want to make them sharp or smooth. Now to clear this sharp edge, all I have to do is select that edge, right click and select clear sharp, and then it removes that sharp edge. And now you can see it is smooth as a baby duck. So if we uncheck our sharp edges and check our edge angle again, it's going to do the exact same thing that it was before, like I said, just using that angle. See, I'm just sliding that up and down to determine what is sharp and what is smooth. Now, the cool thing about this is you can actually combine them. That's why both of them are here. So let's say you know for certain you want anything 30 degrees or less to be smooth, then you can just check that. You can then check your sharp edges and define some more specific things that you want sharp or smooth. So now we have our smooth roll of toilet paper. And if we come back to our material preview, we can see our lovely, smooth, painted, colorful toilet paper roll. Now you can also see these lines here. Now these lines kind of give the illusion of a sharp edge, but if we go into our edit mode, you can see that they aren't sharp edges. This is actually just the result of the painting that I did. So if I come back here to texture paint, and we choose our colors, O2, you can see those lines. If I uncheck display texture paint UVs, you can see the lines are actually a part of the texture itself, not a part of the shading. And I can either paint over this, or if I go back to my placeholder here and then press in and choose a different color here, and let's choose, I don't know, like a greenish color, and choose our placeholder. You can see, again, that shading itself is smooth. So there are no lines on this. So there we go. Now we are ready to start using some images to stencil onto our object here without the distraction of those sharp edges.